Hello, everyone. Just while we're waiting for everyone to show up, we have this Slido. It's just basically a quiz from 1 to 5 on how you're feeling going into the fall term of the EIR. Excuse me. They changed the Zoom interface. I thought the mute was on the bottom, but it was on the top. I missed it.
Looks like people are doing really well. I'm just in the Slido and we're at a score of 4.3. Excellent.
Sweet.
I can also see we've got about 10 people that have completed the attendance form. So thank you to everyone that's done that. And if you haven't already, I just popped the link in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, it's seeming like everyone who's gonna show up is already here, so let's get started. This presentation. So this is our second training session, and it's on how to tell your engineering story. So the agenda for today is four main topics, but the entire main thing is we're introducing storytelling. Storytelling is an amazing tool that everyone should be using in the classroom. First off, though, we're at Engineers of Tomorrow. We're going to start with a values moment. And this time you won't have to listen to me ramble. You'll have Sarah read you.
Thanks, Adam. I'm really sorry I don't have my video on. I'm on the run today. I'm actually heading out on a camping trip, and this is me being very authentic. I'm going to be on the move in about half an hour or so, but I'm going to try to stay in front of my computer as long as I can here before the car needs to go. I'm going to talk a little bit about authentic collaboration, not in a specific way, but more general. I just want to say last week's training, I was just so blown away by how much people shared and how the conversation felt just so real and so authentic. And I just want to thank all of you who were on that call last week. And I hope we can have more of the same kind of collaborative discussion today. I really love this session, this how to tell your engineering story, because this gives us a chance to, get out of the boardroom and get into our real lives and go into the classroom and talk to kids in a really authentic way and just be ourselves. This isn't the chance to go in and be really impressive and share our titles, but to just really connect with them on a really human level. And then just the last point I want to make is over the last few weeks, as we've been matching people up, I've had so many emails going back and forth with people. And I just really value how people have been really comfortable with asking questions. And we've had a lot of back and forth dialogue and kind of figuring things out together. And if you do have questions and you want to reach out, by all means, like we're always happy to chat with you and bounce ideas around, because like there's no perfect one way. And we just want you to feel as supported as possible. And so for me, collaboration is really, really important. And gosh, I just really love this network of engineers. And I so appreciate you taking the time today to come to this session. That's it. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Okay. Now, as we begin to explain what a story is in definition, I feel it's better to first have an example in mind before we explore the definition. So first, we'll talk a little bit about what Engineers of Tomorrow is. So we're a national non-for-profit. I'm sure most of you know this. And our main goal is to transform the next generation of engineers by working with the engineers and educators of today in order to create a different tomorrow. So let's meet the team. This is our team at Engineers of Tomorrow. If you're not already aware of these wonderful people on screen, then they're amazing people. I'll say it again. If you have any issues at EIR, as Sarah mentioned, these are the people you want to reach out to. They'll help every problem. They're amazing people. So what about our story? We were first founded in 1998 by the Professional Engineers of Ontario, and the program had humble beginnings only with main ideologies. So the wish to pair engineers to schools in order to give presentations, activities, and everything else involving STEM. Now that we've spread across Canada and we're spreading the power of engineering one story at a time, it's looking good. It's a nice story. However, what is really a story? In its simplest definition, a story is an account of imaginary or real people and events told for entertainment. What we can learn from this is that all your engineering story needs to be is a way of engaging students into listening to you. They should be able to see themselves reflected in your story, in a sense. One example of a story could be my engineering story, for example. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do coming out of high school. The only thing I really knew is that I loved exploring nature, as you can probably tell by this slide, either on touring skis or a mountain bike or anything like that. I loved going where others had not, whether hiking or anything like that. Luckily for me, my uncle and cousin were both already engineers, and I got to talk to them one family reunion. And they let me know that engineering is really just problem solving and innovating just as much as it was math, and I never knew that. So since then, I've been studying engineering and loving it, taking new strides about how can I protect these winters in British Columbia, because I never want to leave, to be honest. It's beautiful here. And to that, I'll pass it on to Lael for her story.
Hi, everybody. I hope everyone's doing really well. And here's my engineering story. So coming out of high school, I really wanted to be a psych major, actually. And it wasn't until my friend convinced me and talked to me about, you're really good at the sciences and maths. I think you should go into this. And I really had a passion for environmentalism. So, excuse me, I kind of took on this path and I really involved myself. And it did turn out that engineering was really more than the science and maths. But I joined a design team. I started working on kombucha leather. You can see me there. I actually got an interview with CBC, which is really cool. And then I worked at a composting company. Yeah, it's been really fun and it's been a blast. And
Thank you so much for sharing that.
I'll pass it on to Adam again.
Thank you. Well, you're probably wondering at this point, why are we choosing storytelling over any other form of communication? Well, these are some goals for using storytelling. The goals for using storytelling as a primary method of communication is to have the students experience a human connection while demystifying the intimidation factor and challenging stereotypes. It's easily the best way of communicating through emotion, and thus that's why it's the least intimidating way for students to communicate to you, the real life engineer. So those are some of the goals of using storytelling, but what are the benefits? And that's when we go over the flip side, which is that storytelling is amazing because it's a two-way street in the sense that a speaker can sometimes learn more about themselves than the learners or than the audience will learn about the speaker. And this has happened to me before when I was bike coaching once. Oh, it was humbling. But where do we use storytelling? Because there's so many applications for it, and they're all pretty good. You can use it in almost every single formal interaction. However, we recommend practicing it during the following recommendations on screen. That's because storytelling is a very powerful tool, but just like any other tool, if the wielder does not know how to use it, then the tool could be useless. So we're going to run over a little bit of how to build your story. The first thing anyone needs to know on how to build your story is to reflect upon yourself and think, what path did I take to get to where I am now? What are some of the challenges I had getting here? And how did I overcome these challenges? What are some of the good stuff? It's positive memories. Secondly, we're going to do knowing your audience. Common ground is essential when it comes to communicating to the kids. So it's helpful to know who you're building the story for. How old are they? Where do they live? What are their interests? Just try and find some common ground to really relate to the students. And third is mapping out your student board, or mapping out your storyboard, sorry. This consists of identifying yourself, so stating your name and an interesting fact about you per se. Unpacking your reasons. So we all make different choices, and they're all based off personal experiences and influences. What were yours? Have a chat with them, talk about it. And finally, don't forget the why, because students know this, you know this. Engineering is very hard work. We all have good motivations, so share them. Those are some tips and tricks on how to build your story, but if you want some more crystal clear examples of things to do and things not to do, welcome to our section, do's and don'ts. First off, we're gonna look at some things that maybe you shouldn't do. So first off, telling your story as if it's a business presentation. Nah. You want to get a positive emotion response out of the kids, so you have to lead with a positive emotion, if that makes sense. Secondly, unnecessary details or irrelevant plot points can be really deconstructing to a kid's content, kid's perspective. No, I don't like that word. Whatever. Finally, don't overstress yourself, as you just saw me crumble from stress. It's scary to be vulnerable in front of people, especially in front of a group of students. But it's okay. You're there to share your story, and they're there to listen to you. So there's no real shame about it. And finally, this leads us over to some things you should do, for example. Rehearsing your story as many times as you need. Get comfortable with key talking points. If you've rehearsed a story 100 times, I guarantee you will not be scared presenting it. Finally, if there's something that the kids really are interested in your class, go talk about that. There's no need to stick to this I don't know, structure of a strict format. You can be fluid with it and go with the flow with the students. They're there to experience what a real life engineer is, and you're there to show them. So, in any way you feel necessary, make that happen. In order to get you guys to truly demonstrate this, I'll ask you guys a question, which is, did you ever have a moment where you were, aha, I know I want to be an engineer? Or something like that. Did you know you always wanted to be an engineer? I'm asking these questions because of our next objective, which is breakout rooms, everyone's favorite part. So we're going to go over what our engineering stories are. We're going to split out into breakout rooms of 3, and we're going to take turns telling each other our engineering stories. We'll take about 5 minutes for this, and then we'll come back and see if anyone wants to share their stories to the entire group.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, I'm gonna set up the breakout rooms. I'm gonna do it automatically. So just if something gets screwed up in your room, like if you get put in with the note taker that's joined us or something silly, just pop back to the main room and we will help you out. Okay, and go.
Okay.
Should be able to join your rooms now.
Okay. Oh, I bet you the note taker's not going to join a room.
Oh yeah, probably. So let me make sure. Okay, it looks like we have 2 others in that room, so they should be good.
Okay.
Oh, I can see in the rooms where there's people with their audio on, so that's good.
Oh, that's really good, actually. Yeah.
Room 4, nobody's talking right now. Room 6, nobody's talking. Just room 4 and room 6. If you want to pop in one of those rooms, Adam.
Sure. I don't know how to. I don't think I can join them.
Oh, actually, here, I can put you in. I'm going to move you to room 4. There.
Okay. Yeah.
3 seconds left, Adam, and then everyone will be back in here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hopefully you all had a nice chat, if anything. We're going to continue moving on, which is to our recommended resources. So things you can do if you're feeling not so confident. I'll start with the training sessions. The best thing you can do to prepare yourself for this following fall term is by far these training sessions you're attending right now. So good job. However, there's many other options to get good support. We have our YouTube channel, which we post the recordings after these live sessions. So if, for example, you miss this session or you miss a different one, you can see it on our YouTube channel. And also we have our Discord and LinkedIn. Discord, I will heavily say, is amazing. There's almost always someone online who can answer your questions, and if not, whoever goes online next will answer your question there. And we have links for all of these, which we'll put in the chat. Finally, we're able to do your next steps / homework. Start reflecting on when you first became an engineer. What were some of the things that were important to you as a kid? How does the work you do as an engineer make the world a better place? These are all simple questions you can answer on this template, which I have right here as the download link. We'll put it in the chat as well, and it's a little PDF, which will actually, I think I just open. Oh no. Aha. Is everyone able to see this, or is it still the same thing? Yes. Okay. Sweet. This is just this little EIR printable storyboard, which we'd like you guys to all put together at some point. A little bit of evidence. So this is an example, and then right underneath it, we have the one that you guys won. And I think that's pretty much everything. Other than that, we have our next training event, which is happening on the 18th, as well as the program kickoff on the 21st of September. Other than that, I'd love to hear any questions you guys have, any concerns, or just here for a chat.
I think we have some time too. So if anyone wanted to share back from some of the things that you talked about in your breakout rooms, I know I'd love to hear it. I could see all the microphones going. So it seemed like there was lots of chatter happening. And thanks so much, Adam, for being very authentic in your presentation today.
Oh, I see we have a raised hand.
Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, that is me. Okay. Hi. Yeah, I guess I had a question, and it might actually just be for myself, but it might be maybe for other people too. So I am not technically like an engineer. I guess I don't have a ring, but I do sort of work adjacent, or and certainly work with other engineers that do my job. And I guess I'm just wondering. Because I think as someone who works in the industry and who is not an engineer, it's very much like you don't call yourself an engineer. So I guess I'm just wondering how to approach that with the kids in the classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like how much, if that.
I think it's a great question. And I would lead with just be authentic. Like what you just said, you can say to them. And I think it's really depending on the age or grade that you're matched with, Carrie. You could have even a conversation about why you can't call yourself an engineer, or what took you along the path that it did take you on, and now what you observe working adjacent to engineers. Like, our goal is just about raising awareness, particularly about engineering. We know that the E gets left behind largely when you're looking at the STEM curriculum in the K-12 education system. So just that awareness piece, you can do that even if you're not an engineer. That's okay. So just like I said, be authentic, talk about it, talk about what you see, talk about your experiences, and that's perfect. Does
Okay.
that help?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. I saw there was a couple of questions in the chat as well. Can we share on LinkedIn? Dimitri, did you want us to share the
Yes.
recording?
No. You said that there is a LinkedIn and a Discord. While
Oh,
Oh.
I value Discord more than vice versa. I value LinkedIn more
LinkedIn.
than
You want me to
Discord.
share the link for
The link,
LinkedIn? I get
yes,
you.
just to
Yeah.
make sure
Okay.
that it is the right one.
I'll
The
grab
LinkedIn
it.
should be in the chat. No, I
Oh,
Oh,
think I
thanks,
just put them in
Adam.
there.
You're so quick.
Okay,
Of course,
perfect.
I
Thank
have
you.
them already.
And then James, you're asking about the storyboard. Yeah, we will send a copy of the slides and you can grab the storyboard there. Or Adam, I don't know, maybe you can put the link in the
it's
chat
just
too.
in the chat.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. And that's just like a helpful little tool to get you thinking about like what were the decisions you made and moments in time and maybe people. Like I always remember I had a chemistry teacher in grade 11 that was the reason I chose chemical engineering. So I talk about him, and so it's kind of fun to use that little tool to help give you some prompts and ask you some of those questions to get you thinking. Because I mean, if you're anything like me, you get caught up in the day-to-day of like meetings and deadlines and emails, and so it can be sometimes you can get disconnected from that.
Hey, and like I just want to offer up too, Becky, to add to what you just said, like I love the chance to reflect back on it too. It really helps me feel more connected to the profession, and just looking back on why I chose it, I find that really enjoyable on a personal level. If any of you are going through that process and you want to practice on us, like we're always happy to look at your storyboard and happy to hear your practice run if you want. Just reach out anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're happy to give feedback or bounce ideas off of. I see a comment in the chat too from Farius about how engineering is a lot more different these days, which is true. And I mean, please talk about that, and say, when I went through, this was the experience I had, but you see that things are different now, and it's all part of your path. My husband, he's an engineer as well, and now he does sales too, but all that engineering background he has still helps him to this day with lots and lots of problem solving.
Well,
One thing I'll
actually, yeah, just to add to this one, it's often what I talk to my kids actually, that the way you learn and whatever is necessary for the engineering, let's say, if you decide to change the career later a little bit, if you go to the sales path and you sell the technical product, you still need the engineering background to speak to the other engineers who are buying this equipment to make sure that you could find the common platform, common languages. That's applicable not just for engineering, it's applicable to any other trade. That actually I took on special courses for electricians to make sure that I could hear the lingo in the class. I could learn how they communicate, to see them as the personality in the class and behavior, because there is always friction a little bit between the electrical engineers and electricians. There is a bit of overlap, and this is why I wanted to find out actually how does it work. And frankly, I found that actually some electricians were pretty much well-baked engineers. They just didn't want to advance further in career to get the diploma, but the judgment, the approach to the tasks and everything was exactly what engineer would do. So Jane, speaking, a diploma doesn't stop you to develop to any direction.
Yeah, and it's a great that's a great story to tell too, or I think that was Dimitri speaking. There's more than one path. If you find an interest, you can follow it, and maybe it'll lead you to an engineering career, or maybe it won't, and that's okay too. Like, we're not here trying to convert everyone into engineers. We're just trying to let you know that it's something that's not talked about all that much in school, so it's an option. I saw, oh, you were answering about Carrie's question, Adam, about specific resources for age groups. We do have a bunch of good stuff in there. The stuff in the library there's some really good presentations in there. So if you did want to kind of start out with your story and just even a more general what is engineering, we have some great presentations in there. There was an awesome one that one of our EIRs did last year that was particularly good for younger audiences. Like he had little like cartoon characters almost going through the different kinds of engineers. So that one was super cool. And then if you're in a high school, you can obviously add a lot more complexity to it and take it in a bit of a different direction. But what I wanted to add to that is the thing you have in common with all these students that you're talking to is that you were their age once. So try and just, remember, what does it feel like to be that age, to be a kid? Did you really love it when someone stood up in front of your class and just droned on with a boring business-like presentation? Like Adam talked about some of the don'ts, right? Like, no, you obviously you're gonna tune out. So just try and put yourself back in those shoes and think about what you were feeling and thinking about at that age, and then be really willing and open to listen. I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were talking about how as kids you don't really feel heard or really listened to very often. You're very often kind of talked at, or even in some cases talked down to as kids. So be that person that can really hear what they're saying, so that you can, this is all about building that connection and getting their trust so you can develop this relationship with them over the course of the time that you get to spend with them over the year. So great question, Carrie.
I don't know how to raise my hand here. Or is it okay if I
Go
just
ahead.
jump in?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I was matched with a school, and they sent me an email. They said they introduced themselves. They said, "Hey, we're teacher X and Y. We teach first and second grade." And they asked me, "Do you need any help?" And I was like, I read the email. I was thinking about it for a couple of days, and then when I responded, I said, "Hey, I want to be in class. I want to introduce engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I'll probably, walk the kids through simple, maybe exercise that has to do with energy or engines and things like that." And then I said, maybe we can close it off with watching a YouTube video that explains what engineering is. And now I'm here and I'm, listening to everyone talk about the storytelling. So I just want to make sure that my expectations and their expectations, and to make use of the time in class as the best of my abilities. So like what I just said now is just like, how do we navigate the class?
That's a great question, Sam. And you're doing it perfectly. Honestly, there's no way you can really do this wrong other than not communicating with your teacher. So like, big high five for like already having some communication with your teacher. Like a lot of times they sign off for the summer. So I'm really happy to see that you're already communicating with them and they seem really engaged. So you're ahead of the game there. And so we like to start with this session because we do want to just ground everyone in that you're really just there to have a connection with the students. So, just going in and getting them to be comfortable with who you are as a human being, like taking a human first approach. We just want to let everybody know that your first session with them could just be that. Now, if you're, if the teacher seems really eager and you're really eager too, then you do it in bits and pieces. That's okay too. Like you obviously are going to have to introduce yourself when you go into the classroom. So maybe you take 5 or 10 minutes to tell a bit of your story. And then you lead into this awesome, fun activity that you're planning. Like that would be amazing. And then the next time you're able to see them again, they're going to maybe remember those bits and pieces about you, and you can just build on your story as you develop your relationship with them over the months. Does that help?
Awesome. Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Good,
And like
good.
the duration of the each meeting with the kids is going to be a class duration, which is like, I don't know, 30 minutes nowadays or 45
Yeah,
minutes.
like again, talk to your teachers, see how they want to
Okay.
do it. Usually we say it's typically we see it that it's a class period, which is usually more like kind of 50, 60. It depends on the school, it depends on the class, so it is hard to generalize. Sometimes if they're really excited to have you there and you have something big planned, they're flexible. Maybe they'll push 2 of their periods together, and if you have time, then you can be there for longer if it makes sense. You said it's
Awesome.
a
Okay.
younger grade too, so with younger grades, sometimes that can be a bit trickier to keep their attention for that amount of time. So
Right.
keep that
Yeah.
in mind. But that's where you can default to your teacher and just be like, this is what I had in mind. Like, let me know what you think. Is this, aligning with your curriculum at this point in the year? Like, is this a good fit with what you need to cover in terms of your science or math or tech curriculum? And go from there.
Just
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I was asking my daughter, she's actually moving from grade 1 to 2, which is the same age group that I'm
Perfect.
gonna present. So I was like, what do you know about energy? She said, well, I know wind energy. It moves us around. And so, okay, they know about energy. So this is where I started digging into these. So it's good to
That's
ask people around, right? Like,
great. You have a perfect test subject there.
yeah. So one thing,
thank you.
sorry, this is Stephen. So one of the things that teachers can help you with is really finding out the culture of the class, right? And do's and don'ts. What's the best way to engage? What's the worst way to engage?
Mhm.
And then asking, the question is, what parts of the curriculum related to, it'll be mathematics at that point. I don't know what it'll be. So what part of the curriculum can you help them with? And hopefully you can find something that really
Right.
ties into the curriculum for them. So
Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for this input.
yeah, and just kind of one other thing, when we're looking at putting our presentations together, I find like using, one of the presentation tools that has really cool templates you can use, something like Canva. I just find that those are a lot more engaging than using, the Microsoft or the Google ones. So that's just something to think of. They're free, they're cloud-based, but I just find that they have really templates that are more appropriate for the actual school children. So
Can you share, please? I just missed the name of the application.
Yeah, the one I use is Canva. There it is. Thanks, Rebecca.
That's
That's
what I also
the
use for this
presentation you're looking
presentation.
at. Yes, we
Okay,
use Canva all the time.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's I love Canva. Great tip.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't feel like you have to put together a slide deck too.
Sure.
Show up and just talk to them. Like maybe if you have certain gear that you wear for your job, you can bring that along. Like show and tell is always, well, with the younger audiences at least, a hit. So
Good idea. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
If you like Canva, I'd also recommend a Miro board. You can do a lot with those.
yeah, there's so many good tools these days. And do check with your teacher to make sure that, they have the tech to support it.
Right.
It's always good to, sometimes you can email it to them in advance so they have it, or bring a backup copy in case you can't get on Wi-Fi or something like that.
Another thing I'll add to Becky stating that your goal is to make the students feel heard. My favorite teacher in the entirety of high school was right at the end in grade 12 physics, and it's because the teacher did one simple thing. I'm only 19. I'm basically still a kid, so I can tell you guys this. The only thing they did is every Friday at half an hour, so minimalist amount of time, he would set up a little box of tissues, and everyone wrote down something they'd like to learn about. That's like physics are related, so it can be weird things. People will put particle accelerators, people put like solar eclipses. You put it all into this little box, and then you shovel it up, pick one out, and do like an assisted Google search for the class. If you can get that almost form of engagement, because when I tell you every single head in this class, straight at the screen, like, and the presenter, it was super amazing. And I think it got every single kid in that class interested in physics. It did me, at least. Like, it was by far my favorite class.
Worked for you, eh? That's awesome. Great
Definitely
tip.
for me.
I'm just going to share a link. We actually in the past went through and pulled out the links to the STEM curriculums that because you can find all of them online for each of the different provinces. So we have a nice little one-pager. That way, so once you know what grade you have, you can go and see what topics they have to cover in their STEM curriculum. So I like it. It's a good place to at least start some planning and thinking.
I'm not sure if it is something that maybe makes sense. Everyone is good at speaking, some maybe less, some maybe more shy, and so on. I know that for me to start speaking publicly, like we do it now, or face-to-face mostly, it took me some time to develop. English is not my native language, so I kind of was shy to start even conversation or start the conversation. But if I asked, I would answer. This time has passed. So what I was thinking, if maybe we could do some kind of a dry run, have the one presentation, just one, or maybe few, if they're short enough, or maybe part of the presentation, and together we could maybe listen to it and maybe analyze and just give a brief opinion on what we did notice, what may be interesting to improve, or maybe something that we learned from there. It's just kind of, you don't need to listen to half an hour. You just need maybe our start, introduction, how we introduce ourselves. Give me a few examples. Let's look at it and what do we think about this one. I think that this kind of play scenarios would help everyone, especially like me. Like I was planning to do that for 10 years, and for 10 years, my management was preventing me from that, saying that, oh, you have too much work to do, so you don't have time. Now I do have time a little bit to dedicate, and that's something that I really would like to. Like I'm afraid.
Yeah, and that's totally normal. Yeah, that is totally normal. We hear that from most of the volunteers and the other members in our awesome community. Because yeah, it can feel a little bit scary and uncomfortable to stand up, even if they're only 13 years old. You're standing up there and you're, like Adam said, you're being vulnerable and you're being authentic. And I mean, if you have kids or have interacted with kids, like you have to be authentic. Like they're gonna know if you're up there and you're not being your authentic self. So I love your idea, Dimitri. Let us kind of take that away and see how we can best facilitate that. I have a few ideas, a few thoughts on how we could help to support that. But thanks for bringing that forward.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a few people that need to drop off. If you have to, of course, by all means, like Adam said, there will be a copy of the recording of this that you can always come back to if you want to just get a refresher or review. But we can hang around for a few more minutes if there's other questions or anything else anyone wants to share.
Okay, by the way, to raise the hand, you just go under reaction and the raise hand is there.
It's under react.
Under react.
That's where it is now. Thank you. We have to be familiar with all these different platforms now, right? If you're a Teams person, it's different from Zoom, and we tend to use Google Meet a lot as well. You have to be multilingual with these platforms.
Imagine that I did work with all the major platforms for the communication. So this kind of online presentation meetings, oh my God. In the last
Yeah.
3-4 years, even we did have, like where I did work before, we did have, let's say, Avaya unified communication, which combined all this stuff. I had to
Oh.
work with WebEx, with Teams, with
Oh. Everything.
Zoom, whatever else there. I think Blue Jeans. And,
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's even
That's
more
brutal.
interesting presenting like remotely to classrooms, especially when they're up in the north
Mhm.
and there's a bit of a latency issue.
Oh yeah,
Yes, I know you
I
have some
understand, yeah.
experience with that, Dan.
Yeah, I actually get to have my first actual in-person
Yay!
thing after a few years.
Excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny when you hear places like it's minus 40 out and the wind chill's minus 48, and yeah, we're not allowing anyone outside because they'll die. So school's closed for the next week.
Puts things in perspective, eh? You're like, oh wow, I
Yeah,
guess I'm not gonna complain that I can't get my Starbucks today or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, we can make sure we have all the links.
Of course I can.
Yeah.
I can also really quickly just drop all of them into the chat in like a one text block.
Oh,
You give me
thanks,
2
Adam.
seconds.
There's probably a way too, when we post it on YouTube, we can put the links in the description.
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a way to do
Okay,
that.
this is all of them in the chat. So that's the first link to the LinkedIn, then it's the Discord, YouTube, and then our EIR printable storyboards.
Rebecca, I sent the link about the bridges, building the bridges competition in.
Oh,
Did you have a chance
Oh.
to talk to Sarah about this, Adam? Did you see them?
Yeah, I got your links, Dimitri.
Just,
Thank you for sending them. We'll make sure that that's shared out with the network as an opportunity for them to potentially jump onto later in the year.
Because it became like engineers of tomorrow became a standard, and it is standardized. It's very inexpensive solution, a kit that actually you could have 10 kits for the school. It's not just one kit. So you could
that's
ask.
amazing.
You just have to ask
Pretty
for
cool.
because in our case, our school where my kid was in, they were not willing to participate because it came too late, and we said, okay, we will participate on our own, like open competition, and he did it himself, and that was something that was interesting. Even just like a
you know, I
family
love that you
activity.
brought that forward, Dimitri, because there are so many amazing programs already out there. And this is one of the things I really love about the engineer in residence program is we're not here telling you you must do A, B, C, D. We're going to encourage you, like if you know about these programs, or we try and share with the whole community so we can bring awareness to all these existing programs. By all means, like you can bring them into the schools, bring them into the classrooms, because it's really hard to get the attention of the educators. Sometimes they have a lot on their plate. They don't know about all of these. Maybe they even feel a little intimidated to take something like that on all by themselves. So you, as their EIR, can be that support and that resource that that can kind of catalyze that. So there's all kinds of them that we've as you start to dig in, you find more and more of them. So thank you so much for bringing that forward. And like Sarah said, we'll make sure that we share that. I think we have, even in the library of lessons that Adam shared, there's one lesson that's set up as like all the external resources that we've found. So we're not gatekeeping.
Okay,
So.
well, I think that one of the tunes, or common idea that was really toward the presentation. So it means that a computer has to be involved, something else has to be involved, and like bridges, for example, it is an example where the computer is not really involved until when you do the research only, but when you start building, it's hands-on. You make your hands dirty. Any other example that actually you take away the electronics, and make sure that there is a small talk between you and these schools. That's what I'm planning to do. Actually, I'm planning not to do any presentation unless I have to show something that could not be shared. Like, I don't want to print it out. I just put the picture on the
I
the
love
screen.
it.
But
I
not
love it. Keep
to
it
have
simple. We don't need to
simple,
be all
yeah.
fancy with all the presentation. I agree with you.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I'm not against it, it's good, but I
Yeah.
think we are relying too heavy on the technology in modern days, I would put it this way.
Yeah.
And this kind of remove the a person from the engineering, like an engineer, like I'm not sure about everyone else, but in my case, I had only 70%, I had 70% of communication, and the rest was only technical work.
Yeah.
Just to give an idea. So it was 50 to 70, I'll put this way. The rest was, it wasn't only technical, and
Yeah.
the communication was really critical to make sure that you pass the ideas, you listen to everyone, you collect the information. So it wasn't.
Yeah, it's very important. So we have just a couple of minutes left here. Adam, was there anything else that we need to cover?
I think that's it.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully this was valuable for everyone. Thanks again, Adam and Lael, for sharing your stories.
You're very welcome.
And I think it was a great even start or lead up to the next session, which is all about building connections. So we've talked about it a little bit already, but hopefully we'll see you all there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
See you all
Ken.
there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Okay.
Okay, bye.